Because let's be honest, do we really want to go back and play Molten Core again? I mean, some people might want to. But if you want to draw people into a Classic Plus project, you can't just make them do all the same raids all over again. Alright guys, today we're going to use our imaginations and pretend that I am the overlord of Blizzard HQ, and with my power I'm going to make a Classic WoW Plus server. We're going to go through some of the ideas I have, which are largely influenced by changes that has been made to retail, but also from other interesting MMOs. Interestingly, the original RuneScape has done their own Vanilla Plus concept. They actively release new content for the classic version of the game, and Blizzard have insinuated that they are open to ideas on where to take Classic after Wrath, and they won't necessarily just continue through the expansion, so there's a chance that something like this might appear in the future. It's not exactly a difficult concept to grasp or implement. There's time travel in the World of Warcraft lore, so instead of just re-releasing the content as it was, they could make an alternative timeline of several different expansions alongside retail World of Warcraft, a different version of a game with new expansions more suited to the classic WoW audience. Because let's be honest, do we really want to go back and play Molten Core again? I mean, some people might want to. But if you want to draw people into a Classic Plus project, you can't just make them do all the same raids all over again. Classic Plus should have totally new raid content and some new dungeon content if you want to draw in a big audience. So the key underlining theme here is that new is better. By the way guys, I did say about a month ago that if we get to 120,000 subs by the end of the year, I will literally dye my hair green. I mean, that's probably not going to happen because we've only got a couple more weeks, but I'll tell you what, if we get to 118,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I will dye my hair green. Guaranteed. I've actually purchased the green dye. Now, another great feature I like that other MMOs normally do, and even retail actually, is having a main storyline. This normally starts at level 1 and goes all the way to max level, but normally you can't progress through this main storyline without leveling up, so that encourages you to go out and explore the world and do side quests. But let me tell you why these main quests work very well and would be great in Vanilla WoW. First of all, they're great at keeping new players on track, plus it fleshes out the story of an MMO because it's easier to follow one linear storyline. Lord of the Rings Online does this extremely well by having a narrator who narrates the main storyline quest to you. Plus NPC chat bubbles are much bigger and easier to read. I'm playing a lot of LOTRO recently, and I'm actually understanding the storyline much better than I ever have in World of Warcraft. It's actually quite interesting. You just don't get this from Vanilla WoW unless you actually are going to take the time to read quest text, which, come on, when you're playing a video game, you're just not going to do that. I know some people don't care about the story of a game, but at the end of the day, you can just rush through it if you don't care about it. The point is, Lord of the Rings Online has better devices at communicating the story than World of Warcraft, and I think it would only improve Classic Plus. The leveling process should also not take ages, or at least it should be much faster the second time round. I think Elliums are a bad idea because they increase player power too much, and you shouldn't be powerful at a low level. But a simple XP buff that you unlock once you hit max level for your ults would be a good alternative. Now when it comes to class design, it goes without saying that vanilla classes were pretty flawed. That's why they got improvements over the years. I mean, they had their charm, and it's fun to play these classes, but if they've just released exactly how they were yet again, nothing new, none of the meme specs viable, a lot of players simply wouldn't want to go back to playing Classic Plus because they wouldn't want to go back to playing the same classes and just watching warriors dominate the meters all the time. They could rework the Wrath of the Lich King Classic talent trees and abilities to a lower level cap, or even take influence of the new Dragonflight talent trees and just make something totally new. You know, the talent trees in Dragonflight are very well designed. It's nice how you have a class talent tree and then also a separate spec-specific talent tree, effectively having two talent trees active at once that you try to synergize together. Well, buffs are another spicy topic. I think the simple solution is to just make them not dispellable, persist through death, and add the Chrono Beacon to Innkeepers. I have no idea why they added to the Western Plaguelands. I couldn't be bothered going over there like all the time. I know it's a pain to go and get world buffs. Perhaps they could look at making that process a little bit easier, but going out into the world and getting these buffs encourages socially driven world content and world PvP, and if you're not going to lose your world buffs by dying or getting them dispelled, then there's absolutely no drawback. It also goes without saying, and I think many people have already covered this, that quality of life changes should be in Classic Plus, like certain ones added from retail or ones that already are in Wrath of the Lich King Classic, like Jewel Spec, Collection Tab, AoE looting, etc, etc. I also think there should be more sources of experience. Firstly, professions shouldn't feel like they're getting in the way of your leveling speed. Gathering nodes and gaining skill ups when you craft things should grant extra XP, and perhaps bigger XP bonuses for when you acquire the journeyman level and the artisan level, etc. I think there should also be XP bonuses for fully exploring zones and killing rares. PvP shouldn't feel like a waste of time either. There should be XP granted for open world PvP kills to encourage world PvP, or at least make you feel like you're not slowing down your leveling speed when you want to go and do some PvP. They could do this differently by having a PvP daily quest to kill a certain amount of players that can be completed in a raid group, because an open world PvP skirmish in vanilla is some of the most fun you're ever going to have playing the game. For me personally, it has been anyway. I think player-made content like that should get a little push and an incentive from in-game mechanics. Another idea I had would be something like a crate drop. So on the map, there's a chest that spawns, whether it drops from the sky like a BR game, or it could just be a rare spawn that you have to kill. The point is, it would randomly spawn intermittently throughout the day, somewhere on the map. Everyone in the world can just see it on their map straight away, and it should drop really good loot and grant good experience. This would again incentivize world PvP for those who want to partake in it. And I don't think Draenor styled XP treasures would go amiss, but these should give slightly better loot than they did in Warlords of Draenor. I would also make changes to group leveling, because in vanilla it's very punishing. You lose a lot of XP per kill in a group. I'll simply remove this penalty so that people can freely level up questing with their friends if they want to, without feeling like they're nerfing their XP per hour. And another extremely irritating thing is how quest loot wasn't shared. Plus, you can't share open world pickup quest items. The nice thing about playing Lotro again is that open world pickup items, they don't despawn, so everyone can actually share them. Obviously, you can't just loot the same one over and over again, they have a bit of a cooldown. But yeah, it doesn't despawn. Shared tagging on named mobs would also be nice, so you don't have to wait around waiting for named mobs to respawn. Or at least these spawns on named enemies could be increased slightly. Other world changes I would make would begin with elite quests. Vanilla has a lot of great elite questing areas, and I'll simply just add more. There's a lot of empty, unused space in Vanilla WoW that would easily be filled with more elite zones, and these elite quests should reward more XP and better loot to encourage group content and reward you for it. And when I say better loot, every elite hub should at least have a blue gear piece reward that every spec can make use of, because sometimes it feels very unsatisfying to do these quests and then you don't even get a good gear reward. I also don't see the harm in there being low level world bosses and more low level raid content. Raid content shouldn't be reserved for endgame. Why not have 10-man modes for every dungeon in the game that rewards even better loot? I recently played a private server that allowed raid groups into the dungeon. It was actually quite fun, but the XP was terrible. And obviously the content itself wasn't very difficult at all. We just did it really to complete the quests very quickly. It would also be cool if once you completed the dungeon, it would unlock another wing of that dungeon, because I don't think anyone would complain about new dungeon content. I also don't think the low level content should become irrelevant. There should be heroic modes of every low level dungeon that you can then do at endgame to get geared for your raids, much like how every new WoW expansion works now. And I think that should extend to raiding. You can have your normal raid mode for the casual raid guilds, and then for the more hardcore guilds, you can have heroic mode. It satisfies both types of raiders. And whatever raids and dungeons stay in the game from vanilla, they should be freshened up with new mechanics on the same level of competency than old WoW mechanics. Like Ulduar as a minimum, because obviously retail World of Warcraft has even better raid mechanics than Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Now let's talk about player housing. I've still no idea why this isn't in the game, and don't you dare call garrisons or class halls player housing. If you can call that good player housing, then Disney's new show Willow is a great piece of cinema and wasn't written by a plank of wood. You could easily add extra instance buildings to the world that people can occupy. But furniture would also have to be added to the game so people could customize their house and stuff, but that could easily just be bought from a vendor. Everyone also knows that I have a sweet spot for pre-nerfed Alterra Valley from playing it on the Nostaria server. This should definitely be restored. The version with NPCs and landmines that prevent people from just rushing to the end of the battleground and cheesing it. It was originally designed to be a long battleground. It was supposed to feel like a war. Fair enough, the battleground lasting days on end wasn't so great, but they could implement ways to prevent it from lasting too long rather than just nerfing it to the state that they nerfed it to. Bunkers and towers had bosses defending them. You can even summon bosses and an army of frostwolves to help you push the enemy team. And obviously it would also be interesting to see some new battlegrounds with brand new game modes. Also, the gear you could make with professions early on was pretty bad, so I think the recipes need to be either improved on, because a lot of the gear was just like white quality gear. Otherwise, most people, they're just going to go engineering, which also probably needs to be balanced a little bit better. I also think there was an imbalance of class quests, like some classes got way more than others. Give every class some good class quests, and just generally make more of them. And if other players come to help you with a certain difficult elite class quest, they should be able to get some kind of reward, like a mini quest that gives them experience or consumes. And lastly, the most important change that has to happen is there should be an option where you can decide whether your weapons go on the side of your character or on your back, because this is absolutely detrimental to my enjoyment of World of Warcraft. Anyway guys, let me know in the comment section what kind of ideas you guys have. I feel like there's so many different boxes to tick because WoW has so many different kinds of players now. It also has to keep appealing to an ever-changing younger audience in order to stay relevant. You have to please the hardcore raider, the solo player, the mount collector, the competitive PvP player. This is what I would personally like in a Classic Plus project, but it might not be everyone's cup of tea. You might want more out of a game or you might want less, but I think we can all agree that if Classic Plus is actually going to have any amount of a success, it has to feel new. Well, new enough to get people to play it. They can't just re-release all the old raids again with some more retail quality of life changes and updated character models and NPC models. It just wouldn't be enough. Anyway guys, be sure to check out my second channel, Nightgoblin, for non-WoW videos. My name is MetaGoblin. To the next video, ciao.